Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Bud, and welcome to Mental Game Mechanics. And today I want to talk to you about how to time out your tactics, how to time out your tactical thinking or tactical execution of things. The other day I posted a video about how your strategic vision or your strategic goals will determine your daily tactics. And that is true, but there has to be a balance of both. Everybody has everybody has a different role that they play in an organization, in their family, in their business, in whatever. And whether you're, let's say you're a leader of your family, right? Or you're the child. Everybody plays a slightly different role, right? You're leader of the family, typically your father is going to be kind of saying the father and the wife, mom and dad should be kind of determining a vision for the family of what we're doing, what we believe in, what we stand for, and teaching those values and visions to the kid, to the children. And then the children are supposed to simply execute on that vision, right? They're supposed to do what they're told, or I mean, obviously they have their choices and stuff like that, but ideally, right? The parents kind of determine the rules and then the child kind of follows them, right? Same thing in like a business. You have a CEO who determines the vision, and then you have an employee who executes the vision tactically. And it doesn't matter whether you're the parent or the CEO or the child or the employee, you're going to have a balance of both strategic and tactical thinking. A CEO is probably going to spend 80% of his time on the company strategy, on the company vision, on the company direction that they're heading, right? But even then, that CEO will have tactical ways of doing things, task lists, projects. They're going to have some tactical execution that they have to fulfill on. And so part of that is being able to balance those things out. And I, as I got to thinking about that episode, I really want to ask a question. How do you time those out? How do you how do you systematically, execute on both strategy and tactics? And, to be productive, not only do you have to have both, but you have to be consistent in doing both of those things. And so how do we develop that consistency, that regular automated kind of focus on the strategy, get down to the tactical and go, right? How do you do that systematically, right? And it's easy to get caught up in the details and spend time in one or the other and not get out of that, right? I call it a task trap if you're in the tactical world, where you are caught up in your task and you're caught up in that task for way too long, right? Something that could have taken you a half hour or an hour, you're on it for 3 hours and you're just kind of wasting time or spinning your wheels on that project, rather than getting what you can done and then moving on, right? Moving something forward and then getting it done, right? You have to have that, right? And so the objective here is to build a system around strategic and tactical thinking. And how do we do that? How do we go about building that system into play? And it got me thinking back to my shooting days. We would go across the country, from New Jersey to New Orleans to Florida to California to Washington, Alaska. Didn't quite get to Hawaii, but I know they shoot a lot there. So, we get to travel a lot, right? We were going across the country, and we went to places sometimes on a regular basis, almost annually. And anytime you went back to that place, you kind of knew what to expect, right? You kind of knew the terrain, the climate, the targets, you kind of knew exactly what to expect, just like a basketball court in the NBA, right? Philadelphia, Los Angeles, it doesn't matter, right? They're going to be the exact same regulation size court. And so shooting, right, when you go into somewhere where you have kind of an idea of what to expect, it's much nicer because your strategy is kind of, you've already experienced it, so you know what to think, right? But if you don't know what to think, or if you're going to a new place, you have to kind of think through all those details of, number one, what's the climate like? It's going to be hot and muggy. I got to make sure that I'm drinking water all the time. Or it's really cold or whatever. It's going to be, it's going to be hilly terrain, so I might be shooting at targets above me, and I might be shooting at targets below me. and this guy's setting the targets, and so because of that, he's going to set this type of particular target. And you have to kind of think through all those details and be prepared as you go into the shooting portion of the tournament. You kind of walk up to a stage or a station, or like in golfing terms, that would be like walking up to the tee, right? You kind of walk up to where you're about to shoot from, and you see what you're going to get, and you think, okay, what am I doing here? And then I shift down to what's the moves to make this happen, right? And for me, what I ended up doing, and this is what created a lot of consistency for me, was I based everything around a trigger. Meaning that as soon as I stepped into the cage, my strategic thinking of the whole task of shooting that station went away, and I now moved into systematic tactical execution. Part of that being, that trigger, right? It's a physical bam. I'm moving to this. I'm shifting my mind from here's all of these things going on to I'm doing this and then this and then this. And it's very much a process driven, focused on the thing that produces the result, the thing that executes the strategy, the thing that gets the job done, right? That's the shift that you have to make. Is you have to shift from from strategic to tactical, and do that with a trigger. And one of the best ways that for me that I did was it was very much a physical doing of a thing, right? You walk into a station, okay? I shoot an over-under shotgun, and so it breaks open. It kind of breaks in half like that, and break it open. And as soon as I put 2 shells in each barrel, so it's over under, so you have two shotgun shells that go into the barrel like that. As soon as those shells go in, I touch them both, and that's my trigger. And it's a physical doing of something, right, that physically triggers in my mind, okay, we're doing this now. And it's a tactical bam, 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 something that I can execute on a regular basis and consistently do. And that's what you want your tactics to be, is you want it to be as systematic as possible, right? Once you know what you're doing, it's now just a matter of executing, right? You've already strategically prioritized. You've already strategically thought through what you're going to do. But now you shift into execution of that thing. And it's based off of that trigger, that boom, here's what I'm doing. And so how do we do that in everyday life, right? Because we're not all carrying around a shotgun that we can drop shells into and touch, right? We have to have some other type of trigger, some other type of thing. And so how do we go about doing this every single day? Well, there's a lot of ways that we can do this, and everybody's going to be different, and everybody's going to have different ways of doing it that they're going to like. One thing that I learned from Brendan Burchard was the fact that on my phone here, I can turn on a simple alarm to run at any time of the day, right? So I walk into my day, and at 10:30, boom, I have an alarm that goes up that reminds me to do XYZ, right? Hey, be present. Boom. That's a good reminder. And it triggers in my head. Bam, there's a thing, right? Or let's say you have a very routine, right? You have an 8 to 5 job, 9 to 5 job, whatever. You walk into your office and you sit down at your desk, and that's very routine for you. How can you turn that routine into a trigger that then gets you to think about something, or shift your thinking from strategic to tactical, or tactical to strategic, right? You want to be able to balance both of those things, right? So what I would suggest is you have every 50 to 90 minutes, right? You have some type of trigger that forces you to stop what you're doing, take a step back, and make sure you're still on track. And everybody's different. Some people might go 50, some people might go 90, some people might go 2 hours. It depends. Based on research, 50 minutes to 90 minutes is kind of that prime number, that optimal time frame in which to work for a very focused amount of time, and then take a 10-minute break, calm down, readdress the situation, look at things again, and then go back into execution mode, right? And that, for me, is something that, sometimes I'm not the best at, honestly, but it's something that makes my days move so much faster and so much better. simply because I've got every 50 minutes, bam, going, and I'm on task, and then that alarm goes off, and now I can go, oh, let's walk around for a minute, let's go talk for a minute, have some fun, make sure the day's moving well. And what that does is it keeps you moving forward every single day, right? It keeps you pushing through the slumps of the day, especially through that afternoon phase. Because if you sit at your desk for too long, eventually, you just kind of get stagnant. And when I don't follow this, my days go slower, my days are longer, my days are harder to execute on the things that I want to do, right? And so, and your trigger might be different, right? There's triggers on your computer that you could use. There's all kinds of ways that you can go about setting up these triggers. And the more habitual, the better, right? If you have projects that you are consistently doing on a regular basis, or places that you go on a consistent basis, use those to your advantage, right? I get in my car almost every day. I use that as something to trigger my mind to now go into learning mode and, hey, I'm going to listen to this right now, and use my car as a way to expand my knowledge, expand my learning, right? Use it as a library, so to speak. And if you can do that, right, you're going to be able to be more productive throughout your days and move the needle forward through slumps, through challenges, through whatever, because you're not spinning your wheels in those task traps. And it's easy to get inside of that task trap of, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, got to do this. 3-4 hours goes by and you've been on this task for way too long. You got to move on. You got to keep making sure that you're doing the right projects, you're doing the right things, and focusing on the things that actually matter, the things that really make a difference. And if you can have those reminders, if you can have all of that in place, imagine what that's going to do for not only your productivity, but the impact that you're going to have, the results that you're going to start seeing. So many times, especially beginning entrepreneurs, myself included, we get caught up in, well, what about this? And 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 we simply just fail to just do the thing that we're talking about. And a lot of times we just have to start doing something and start doing one thing after another, right? And it may not be the right thing. We're going to make mistakes along the way. But the fact that we're doing something and trying to move the needle forward is really the most important part of all of this. And so time your tactics, be effective in that planning and in that systemization of, at the beginning of the day, what's my high level strategic vision? Okay, here it is. Bam. Now let's go and execute. Every 50 minutes, I'm going. 50 minutes hits. Boom. Stand up, take a breath, look at my list, make sure I'm on task, make sure everything's moving the way it should be, and then get back to it. Bam, bam, bam. And it's just a systematic deal or process that you're using to increase your productivity and ultimately get the results that you want to get in everyday life. So I hope that's helped you make a small mental shift in terms of how you're thinking about not only strategic thinking, but also getting into the tactical thinking and executing on the things that you want to do. Because that's where we all kind of miss the boat. The guys that are really making progress and getting results are the ones that are able to make the shift from planning to action. Planning to action. And if you can get into that action phase of doing the thing that you're talking about, you're going to make so much more progress. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you have an incredible day. And if you need help implementing this, reach out to me. Would love to work with you. Have an awesome day. Thanks.